Hello and welcome to the start of Lecture 2, which is on Europe. Europe is a continent, a semi-continent, a part of a larger landmass with multiple countries in it. And it's a good place to start off with because there are so many countries that vary so greatly in origins, history, economies, lots of various things here. When we look at the physical appearance of Europe, you can see a lot of mountains in the southern rim, a few mountains in the very far north, but the most dominant feature physically in Europe is this yellow line here, the North European plain, which stretches from the south of France across Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Poland, into Belarusia, into Russia, and spreads all the way across to the Ural Mountains, which is the little brown stripe that runs up and down on the very far right. Besides the Northern European plain, the mountain ranges I do want to note, number one is the Alps. The Alps is probably the most iconic mountain range in all of Europe. Very elevated. The people there ski a lot. It served as a barrier for many years that prevented invasion from various countries. And Switzerland has used the Alps to their advantage. Since Switzerland is based in the heart of the Alps, Switzerland has used the Alps to its advantage to prevent invasions from other countries, therefore remaining neutral for so many years. The Pyrenees are the small mountain range between France and Spain. It serves as kind of a natural border between the two countries, so it's fitting that the border between France and Spain actually goes across the top of the Pyrenees. The Apennines run down the spine of the boot of Italy. You can see it in brown or orange down the spine of the boot of Italy. The Dinaric Alps run through the very southeastern corner of Europe through what was former Yugoslavia, parts of Bulgaria and Greece. Very rocky, as you can see. And the Carpathians, which is this kind of backward C-shaped mountain range which runs from southern Poland and Slovakia through the Ukraine and into Romania. Volcanoes of note, there are many in the region, particularly the one that erupted a few years ago in Iceland. You can see the graphic on the left there points to, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that because it's a mouthful. There's a lot of E's and F's and J's in there. But it's a volcano that erupted in Iceland 2 years ago, and it caused, just the way that the air currents move throughout Europe, it caused a great huge cloud that kind of covered part of northern Europe. The graphic on the top right there is an actual photograph. That is not Photoshop. That's a real photograph from that volcanic eruption. And there's so much stuff in the air when that volcano erupted that lightning was caused because of all the atoms crashing together. The graphic down at the bottom right shows all active volcanoes in all of Europe. As you can see, there's one in Iceland, there's one way up at the top, but then most of the volcanoes are down in the boot of Italy or Greece or Turkey. Earthquakes, there are a lot of earthquakes in Europe, but most of those occur in Italy, Greece, Turkey, the southern part of Europe. Geothermal, which means energy that is created from heat in the Earth's crust. There are several sites throughout Europe that have geothermal energy. Basically what happens is the groundwater seeps down into these little cracks and crevices in the crust where magma from up underneath the crust heats the water, and sometimes it just causes it to be nice and warm like it is on the left. Sometimes on the right it causes these great big spouts, these geysers that shoot up through the air. Important rivers of Europe, the first is the Rhine. The Rhine runs from Switzerland down through Germany, the border of Germany and France, in through Germany and all the way out to the Netherlands. At one time, Rotterdam, which is in the Netherlands at the very end of the Rhine River, was the most important world seaport. It's quickly being overtaken by Shanghai and Long Beach in Los Angeles. The Danube, or Danube, as it's also pronounced, also starts in the Switzerland, Germany, Black Forest area and runs through Austria, Hungary, through what was former Yugoslavia, today is Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, and then out to the Black Sea. These two rivers and many other rivers throughout Europe are connected via canals, and there are a lot of small canals throughout Europe. So you can take a boat from one side of Europe all the way through to the other side of Europe because of the vast number of canals that connect these cities. The Mediterranean is the most important, I guess you would say, body of water around Europe. It's on the southern edge of Europe. And it's so important because a lot of civilization grew out of the Mediterranean, because the Mediterranean was fairly well protected on the western edge there between Spain and Morocco, where the Strait of Gibraltar is located there, so that the seas were not as rough and ships could pass from one place to another one, from Egypt or Cyprus or Spain, and get back and forth between those. It is surrounded by southern Europe. Sadly, the Strait of Gibraltar is the only place, the only drain, I guess you could say, for the Mediterranean. So it doesn't have a lot of cycling of water. If you've ever been to the Mississippi Gulf Coast and seen it brown, that's because the barrier islands further out, Cat Island, Ship Island, prevent ocean water from really coming in and washing out all that brown stuff. Same kind of deal in the Mediterranean, maybe not to the degree that it is in the Mediterranean, but the fact is, is that the Mediterranean is somewhat polluted. Other seas include the North Sea, which is between the United Kingdom and Norway and Denmark. There are several oil rigs in the North Sea, and that's part of why Norway is fairly rich among countries. Also, we have the Adriatic, which is between Italy and former Yugoslavia. It's a very popular vacation site, as you can see by this beach here in Croatia. The Baltic Sea, which is between Sweden, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland, is a fairly important sea because it actually connects Russia to the Atlantic Ocean. With a port that is relatively ice-free. We'll get more into that later when we get into Russia. And also the Black Sea, which is a very popular tourist destination. This is on the very southeast corner of Europe. Bulgaria, Romania, and then Turkey and Russia, and the Ukraine are around that. Looking at the climate, typically Europe is very snowy in the north in the winter. Sometimes very, very snowy, like places like Sweden, in Denmark, get a good amount of snow in the winter. The further south you go, much like in the United States, the warmer the winters are. In the summer, the north is mild, the south is dry and warm. So places like the United Kingdom and Norway, Denmark, have fairly mild summers. And when you go to places like Italy, which are pictured here, it's a little drier in the summer and very warm. Not hot, but warm. Mid-80s, upper 80s for highs, but it's a dry heat. One of the reasons why, if you look at this map, you see that Spain is parallel to about New York City. So everything else in Europe is further north than New York City. So you would expect places like Sweden, Norway, Finland, which are parallel to, say, Alaska, to have a very cold winter. But the Gulf Stream, this orange area that's highlighted here, is a warm ocean current that brings in warmer, milder air and milder temperatures to Europe, especially the United Kingdom and Ireland, France. That's where I'm going to stop with part 1.